Hello everyone, and welcome to the second and final Winter 2025-26 Season 1 Roundup from GavsWeatherVids. So here we go again, we're going to get all the long-range models together for the second and final time this season. Of course, this is ahead of the last Winter 25-26 update that's going to be released tomorrow on Sunday. And then the GavsWeatherVids Winter Forecast, which we're going to premiere at 7 PM on Wednesday, 3rd of December, next Wednesday. So we've more or less got to the end of our journey, but we have got this update, tomorrow's update, to go before we get to the forecast. So I shall get to your Season 1 Roundup in a moment, but just to say that first, a minute says our 6 AM UK weather forecast. We've released the GWV 42-day forecast for the UK and Ireland for channel members exclusively. And later on today, we're going to have a 10 to 14 day as well. So keep checking back to the channel for more. Like, share, subscribe. Thanks so much for doing that. Thank you so much to Richard Shaw for our winter updates gift. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much, Ricardo. Lovely. Right, so we're going to get all the long-range models from the world's leading forecast centres together for the final time, and let's do this then. So, as I said, we're going to start off with the American and North American models, beginning with Kansas via tropical tidbits. This is the mean sea level pressure anomaly for the winter of 2025-26 from Kansas, showing high pressure in control for this winter, sitting over top the UK and much of northern and Western Europe as well. The temperature anomaly is coming out a bit above average, not a big deviation, but like 1.5 degrees above average, something like that. So a mild winter is predicted and a dry winter as well, not surprised with high pressure dominating, so probably a bit of a winter to forget that one. Lots of anticyclonic gloom and quiet days. Moving on to the NMME suite of models, starting off with NASA going for slightly above average temperatures for this winter in those orange shady colours, and also a rather wetter winter, completely different to Kansas. NASA, they're showing above average precipitation, especially for north west. It's like a classic Atlantic driven winter there. Right, well, moving on to the GM, the Canadian model, different to Kansas though. We see again slightly above average temperatures for this winter by about 0.5 degree. And, well, near non-precipitation with this one too. Not a particularly exciting winter there. And then we've got Anchor, looking like this. Again, above average temperature predicted for this winter. A mild winter on the way with temperatures around 1-2 degrees above average for England and Wales in particular. And again, Anchor is looking slightly on the wetter than average side. So all of those models seem to be going for an Atlantic-driven mild winter. Moving on to the IRI probability forecast for temperature for the winter of 2025-26, we see probabilities favouring above average temperature, except across Scotland, where the probability favours below average temperature. 40% probability, 40-45% probability of a cold average winter for central and northern Scotland, but between 40 and 50% probability of a mild winter for England and Wales, and a 60% probability of milder than average winter for much of Ireland. Well, moving on to precipitation-wise, no signal there, really, except for Ireland, where we've got a 40% probability of a wetter than average winter. But precipitation looks a lot more poised there. And then we're on to the CFSV2, 700 millibar height anomaly for the winter of 2025-26, showing the land-driven winter. Low pressure is in the Atlantic. Sorry about that, everyone. Low pressure in the Atlantic, high pressure sitting to our south and east. Looks like a classic there, doesn't it? Classic zonal winter with a wind coming in from off the Atlantic. So, not surprisingly, with that setup, we've got above average temperatures being forecast here by about 1 to 2 degrees, and precipitation showing a wetter than average winter, so a very mild and wet winter indicated there. No change on recent years. Well, there we go. That's the American models. Moving over to Europe, starting off with the ECMWF. This is the mean sea level pressure anomaly for the winter of 2025-26, showing some higher pressure up towards Scandinavia, low pressure being blocked to some degree in the Atlantic. A bit of a battleground UK type winter there, actually, with low pressure trying to come in from the Atlantic in that direction, high pressure trying to bring the wind in from the east in that direction. We're sort of in a no man's land in between. That could get interesting for this winter. Then again, it could just end up as a very mild and very wet winter if these areas of low pressure get stuck over top country. Think a little bit like 2013, 2014. That often had high pressure across northern Europe, blocking the progress of the Atlantic lows and the Atlantic storms. And that's why it was such a very wet winter, because those areas of low got stuck basically over the top of the UK and Ireland. It could turn into that. Then again, it could be a drier and colder winter. So a little bit in between there. The temperature anomaly for this winter, GWF in the orange shaded colours, that's about 0.5 degree to 1 degree above normal, and not much signal for precipitation then. Right, let's go over to the Copernicus suite of models, starting off with Meteo France. This just looks like a classic mild winter, high pressure from the Azores reaching into western and southwestern Europe, low pressure towards Greenland, Iceland. That brings the jet stream in from the Atlantic in the west, southwest to east, or southwest northeast direction. So the temperature anomaly for this winter from Meteo France is predicted to be above average in the orange colours there, 0.5 degree, 1 degree above normal. And precipitation wise, we see that honestly it's a bit wet average to the north, bit dry, but average down south, not much of a signal. You expect a relatively wet winter, I think, with that pattern. DWD, the German model, shows some higher pressure. It's a little bit different, higher pressure towards the UK and Ireland, also up towards Greenland as well. Bit of hints of Scandi as well, with lower pressure down across southern Europe. These high pressure centres need to strengthen to become like a cold winter, so you need those areas of high pressure to form like a proper block. But maybe a bit of a hint of that. However, the temperature anomaly is very mild for this winter, to say the least, in those red colours. That's 1 to 2 degrees above normal. That'd be a very, very mild winter indeed. And no signal again there for precipitation. I think the pattern looks a little bit more interesting there from the DWD, but needs some work. CMC for a cold winter. CMCC looks like this. A wet winter forecast here, low pressure from the Atlantic into much of Europe. The temperature anomaly is coming out above average, 0.5 degree to 1 degree above normal, and the precipitation anomaly indicating again a wetter than average winter for much of northern and western Europe. And then the ECCC looks like this. So again, low pressure really in control. Slight hint of some higher pressure towards Greenland. This low might be, the trough, if you like, might be a bit further south and east compared to some of the models. Therefore, perhaps some colder intervals indicated there. Though again, the model is going for a very mild winter, exceptionally mild in those red shaded colours, 1 to 2 degrees above average again. And a wet winter is being indicated here by the ECCC through the Atlantic into northern and western Europe. Right, well, via Copernicus, we're going to jet off around the world. So we're going to go to Australia next, to the Bureau of Meteorology, BOM, and a zonal Atlantic winter. Low pressure is to the north, high pressure is to the south. And again, that's a classic westerly winter. Bring the jet stream in from off the Atlantic. So again, we see a very mild winter being forecast. It's a clear trend here, isn't it? Very mild winter being forecast, 1 to 2 degrees above average, and a rather wetter winter as well, especially so in the Atlantic to northern parts of Europe. But we would be included in that as well. So a mild, wet and windy zone of winter there. From Australia to Japan, next, this is the mean sea level pressure anomaly. Now, this is a bit more interesting from the JMA. High pressure looks like it's centering towards Scandinavia, also over towards Greenland. Low pressure to our south and southwest. Going to send that low more in that direction. If we do, we will start getting the wind in from an easterly direction then. Temperature anomalies from the JMA are forecast to be above average. Again, half a degree, 1 degree above normal. Not quite as mild, though, as some of these models have been. And precipitation-wise, not much of a signal, either average precipitation or no signal. I think the pattern there from the JMA is perhaps the most interesting that we've seen so far, given that it appears to be raising those heights to the north. Now, we have got Beijing Climate Centre from last month, and we haven't got all the data, though, so I can't show you temperature and precipitation anomalies, unfortunately. However, and I can't show you a seasonal 3-monthly forecast, really. However, I can show you the monthlies. So, this is the mean sea level pressure anomaly, first of all, for winter 25-26 from December to February, showing an anticyclonic signal to our north and winds likely to be in from the east. This looks rather different, much more of an anticyclonic and blocked winter. Now, if we break that down month by month, the mean sea level pressure anomaly for December looks like this. Interesting. High pressure up towards Iceland and over towards Scandinavia, and that will bring the wind in from an easterly direction if that came off. So, a colder December maybe. January seems the high pressure slipping southwards to sit over top of the UK and Ireland, much more low pressure up to the north. Anticyclonic, probably frost and that sort of thing, but not the cold potential for December. But then the high pressure goes back north again into February. So the high pressure returns back up towards Iceland, to the north of Scotland, centering around Norway and Sweden. Again, you would assume that would bring the wind in from the east there. So a rather easterly Scandinavian high type winter forecast from the Beijing Climate Centre. Quite interesting, most interesting model out of all of those, I think, from a pattern perspective. And then finally, we've got our very own UK Met. So this is what the Met Office model is forecasting. Low pressure up to the north, high pressure out in the Atlantic, and yes, we keep the wind in from the west along with that westerly jet stream. Temperature anomaly is indicated to be above average. A mild winter is predicted. And finally, precipitation-wise, so it's a Atlantic-driven winter, so overall looking rather on the wetter side, especially so more towards the north. Okay, there you go. That is your second and final winter 2025-26 season 1 roundup from GavsWeatherVids. I think we've got a clear trend there for an Atlantic-driven zonal mild winter. There are a few exceptions to the rule, notably the JMA and the Beijing Climate Centre. The Asian models looking a little bit different, but overall the European and North American models generally indicating Atlantic-driven and zonal mild winter yet again. Well, we'll see. We've got the final winter update coming up for you tomorrow. It's going to be a true epic and probably last over an hour, that one, for the first and last time this season. We'll have an hour-long video, I would have thought. And we'll see, though. And then we've got the winter forecast coming up for you at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, the 3rd of December. Next Wednesday, we'll be premiering our winter 2025-26 forecast. Thank you so much to all of those leading forecast centres there for sharing their data for this video. And we'll end it there. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. And for this one, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.